What do you love about being at live music events?
The reason why I love going to live events and gigs is that it's just so great to be a part of something, like actually in the heart and in the action of it.
An entire experience, especially when you get to see like your favorite artists, taking their music the way they wanted it to be taken in. Going to a live event is like a whole different experience. You get to meet other fans who like the music that you like.
It gives me a sense of freedom. I can sort of forget about my disability for a bit.
It's feeling the vibrations. It's like, there's a difference between listening to music and, being live and hearing the acoustics and hearing the vocals,
You get to connect with people. You get to just be a part of an experience that might not happen again.
What difficulties, if any, have you had at live music events?
So some barriers that I face when I've gone to like live events. First, like just booking tickets, finding that information on whether or not a venue is accessible or what access things provisions they have.
In my experience, they usually take you to the front of the audience, right? Still, somehow, people will manage to find their way in front of me.
When you're actually trying to make a booking to get a ticket, within 10 minutes of going on the site, all the accessible seats are gone. And you think, well, hold on a moment, this arena holds, say, 5,000 extra people, and you'd only even be giving us like 100, if not even less than 100 seats. Some venues have found that the disabled area or accessible area is sort of like way back or to the side. And it's sort of like, well, why can't we be at the front, The
lifts tend to have been used or usually be used for rubbish transport. So every time I go in there, it smells like it's always dirty, always smells bad.
There was no seating anywhere, and I obviously didn't realize until I got there. I just arrived at the venue and I was like, hey, I've got this access seating, like me and my friend, where are we gonna sit? And they just kind of looked at me like, ooh. They just brought out a chair on like close to the stage, so I was like super duper close to the action.
Any message to the average concert attendee?
The thing I would say to people is to have a bit more care, a bit more self-awareness.
Be aware that me specifically, I'm around. I think where I'm sitting down and I'm lower, and like if I want to be in the crowd, people are just looking at their own eye level, and then I get bumped into, or I might bump into someone. If people have had a little too much to drink, I am not policing how much alcohol people take in, but just be aware of people around you.
And also think about the people in your lives, that you might know personally, whether friends, family, a neighbor, maybe somebody from school, a colleague, whatever have you. Always keep that in mind, because sometimes it can get quite tiring as a disabled person having to say, hey, access needs, hey, access requirements, have you considered this, have you considered that? Because it leads to us almost being seen as a nagging group. It's like, oh, there's always an issue, there's always something wrong.
Any message to the organisation or venues putting on the events?
First of all, they should give us more space, because I find that it's only very, very limited.
Have a distinction between what lifts you use for your customers and what lifts you use for rubbish, because it's unacceptable. It sends a wrong message to your customers.
There needs to be awareness across the board. So oftentimes when you're asking for assistance or you're just asking for directions generally, depending on the kind of training that the person that you meet might have had, you'll either have a positive or negative experience. And I will say this is necessary across the board, but certainly, especially with festivals, because you're often dealing with nature, right? You're often outside, and these are certain things that you have to factor in. So I think everybody understanding what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, how it needs to be done, and if they have any questions or whatever, that they have SOPs, kind of like standard operational procedures as to how things need to happen.
I think it's all about the whole industry as a whole coming together and going, these are the standards we're going to have. These are the standards that need to be met before we put on anything, whether it's in a really quiet 70-seater venue to what is it in a 10,000-seater venue. That same process should be exactly the same, and it should be something that the whole industry adopts, because you can't just say it's only for this group of people or it's only for this group of people. At the end of the day, you have audience members from different backgrounds, different genders, different cultures, different everything. But it's having the same standard, because at the end of the day, we just want to enjoy live shows and we're not asking for too much. So do better.